I'm gonna spend the next 30 days learning how to draw faces, bodies, characters, and more. And I'll be doing this with literally no experience. Throughout 30 days, there will be a lot of frustrations, setbacks, and eventual breakthroughs. The plan is simple. Learn everything that I need in order to achieve my goal of drawing my favorite character, Kana. To keep track of my progress, I will draw her on day 1 and again on the final day to see if there will be any differences. I started day 1 by holding a pencil for the first time in half a decade. No, seriously, before I did anything else, I pulled up my favorite character and attempted to draw her, and this was the result. This is the original art, and that is the ugly thing I produced with my hands. Look at her chin, the misaligned eyes, and look at her fingers! I definitely didn't misjudge her hand placement and just drew an extra long finger to align it. By the way, this took me 30 minutes to draw because... Bruh, look at this. Anyways, I realized this is gonna be way harder than I thought, so we gotta start from the basics. I spent the next 2 hours drawing lines and circles, and another character from a different anime. So this is day 1. This could be worse. I wrote a bunch of stuff criticizing my drawing. I don't think her legs are supposed to be that far apart. It was at this moment I realized this is gonna be a long journey ahead. But thankfully, we still have 29 more days to go. I know what the problem was. It was this pencil's fault that my drawing looks like poop. So I went ahead and bought some pay-to-win items here. I'm gonna name you Andy. For day 2, I looked at some basics online and drew some heads. One thing I quickly realized was, I can't draw a freaking circle. Like, I think it's impossible for my brain to cooperate with my hands. And this happened. What have I done? I did draw some eyes, and that was the best thing I've drawn so far. These look pretty damn good. Until I had to draw both and put it on the face. I'm sorry, Chica. I failed you. Say sorry, hand. I ended the day disappointed and went to bed. I continued my facial studies on day 3, and I stumbled upon some videos that went really in depth, and tried to follow along as best as possible. And then these aliens came out. I mean, compared to the day before, I think these look 10 times better. I also drew some side profiles, and was even feeling adventurous by trying to add some hair to this girl. She's looking at me like I'm some sort of stain on a t-shirt. I even drew my first original character called Meow Meow. Oh, and I also drew my mechanical pencil here to practice some basic shapes. With my confidence at an all-time high, I decided it was time to learn how to draw some hair. Things didn't go as planned. I quickly got ego checked because drawing hair is not as easy as I initially thought. Look at this mess I just created. And these. Oh my god. This girl looks completely checked out. I think leaving these characters bald might be a better result if the characters I drew with hair looks like they just lost a fight with a lawnmower. Like... I don't even want to explain this. This is probably the most challenging day so far. It felt like everything I touched, I messed up. Everything turned out horrible. I ended up practicing some ribbons and calling it a night early. I spent the next 2 days really focusing on hair. Being able to draw hair is one of the things I really want to master. After day 4's mess, I gotta change strategies. I grabbed the reference and really took my time trying to replicate the art, especially the hair. I drew lightly at first because I kept making mistakes. An important thing that I discovered for me that was really helpful was to map out the side of the hair first, rather than the front of the hair. About an hour into drawing, disaster struck. So Andy ran out of lead, and as I was refilling, I accidentally broke him. No! Andy! I don't know if you can see it, but the lead is jammed, and I can't take the cap off. However, my work is not finished. I continued on with a replacement pencil, and after a long, grueling 1 hour and 40 minutes, my art was done. My fingers were covered in lead, and I had to abandon Andy. But this is the best thing I've drawn so far, and I'm determined to finish these 30 days for the sake of the sacrifice Andy had to make. On day 6, I noticed something intriguing. The characters I've drawn facing the right look better than the one facing the left. I still need to work on hair, so I did another reference drawing, this time with a character facing the right. This took around 54 minutes to draw, so I'm definitely getting faster and more confident with my lines. I celebrated 1 week of the challenge by doing something new, drawing bodies. And boy did I draw a thick figure. One thing with drawing on paper is, every time I want to draw a body and really learn the proportions, I have to draw these lines, and they just take up so much space. I also followed a guide on how to draw figures in perspective, and these were really hard for me. On day 8, I continued drawing bodies, this time with the front, the back, and the side profile. The plan here is to grind as many bodies as possible. That came out a bit weird. Surprisingly, the body I drew came out pretty clean, but the thighs here look like it can actually kill someone. Seriously, I wouldn't put my head between them. I also tried drawing breasts, and it's actually pretty simple. Like if you think of them as an upside down heart, they look pretty similar in a way. On day 9, I found a character sheet of Ikuyo and started going to work. I know I was supposed to be drawing bodies, but I just couldn't help and try to make her face look nice. I think I spent like half an hour just on the head detailing everything. Anyways, I drew the front, the back, and the side profile. Time to analyze them and see what I can do better for next time. The character facing the front looks decent. I think her head might be a little too big. Eyes not the same shape. And let's skip the hands. Also, I didn't draw any feet. For that back figure, hands, same thing. They look like claws. I really like how the hair came out from the back, and the head looks normally sized. Side figure, head too big. I tried adding clothes this time and messed up big time. Of the 3 figures here, we see one thing in common. The length of the arm. There's just something off about it. Alright, I don't know if I'm an addict or what, but on day 10, I went crazy with drawing. I spent 4 hours drawing Nijika's front, back, and 2 side profiles, with proper clothing this time. Right now, I'm feeling pumped because I feel like I'm making a lot of progress. Until I try drawing this. Oh god, I just realized she has 7 fingers. What? You see, all my body drawings so far were just characters front, back, and sides. And this character here is doing an actual pose. Not to mention her skirt being kinda lifted. This absolutely blew my mind. I didn't even bother drawing her face properly because I needed a break after drawing the body. I set a mini goal and promised myself I will come back to this drawing after I get a better understanding of these 4 things. Oh, and I also drew Frieren, kinda. So on day 11, I watched videos on gestures and tried a bunch of 1-minute drills, basically sketching out poses. Not gonna lie, these look horrible. Like, what the hell are you doing, sir? You're scaring this little guy over here. Anyways, I probably need to just do a bunch of these every day to see improvements. Day 12, I more or less did the same. I really want to get more gestures right because my characters all look very stiff right now. So I did gesture training, then I got bored and drew some faces from different angles. Number 2, 3, and 4 all look kinda funny. So I know I really need to learn perspective soon. On day 13, I warmed up with gestures, then learned about perspective. Perspective is actually pretty interesting, and I need to get the basics down in order to achieve our final goal. I found a ruler and start drawing lines to get used to the idea of a vanishing point. Up to this point, I'm pretty sure I've been just drawing mindlessly and copying references, so thinking in 3D is a brand new concept for me. I also tried drawing some arms in a so-called foreshortening way. Finally, I want to see if I still got it, so I drew Nijika again. Compared to the one from 3 days ago, I drew this one 30 minutes faster, and she also looks way better. Finally, I decided to challenge myself and draw her in a pose. She turned out pretty weird. Oops, I also forgot eyebrows. I also wanted to go for bent knees, and that turned out horribly wrong. Her arms, I don't even know what they're doing. She was supposed to be holding a peace sign, but I got too lazy to erase the hair, so I drew it here. But yeah, I need to start drawing more characters with a dynamic pose rather than just standing. So it's been 2 full weeks since I first picked up my pencil. So I decided to test out how much I improved by choosing these 2 characters with a dynamic pose and set a goal to finish both of these drawings in under 2 hours. Starting now! Oh god, what is this? First of all, I still can't draw heads. Look at how many times I erased the head here. And the reason why I choose this pose is because there is some foreshortening going on with the arms and the legs. Also, both of these 2 references were cut off at an ankle, so I had to add the shoes in myself. And I made the darn rookie mistake again and misjudged the spacing, so I couldn't fit a hand here. It was actually a blessing, or else her hand would just turn out like this. I spent 10 minutes on this freaking hand, by the way. These 2 drawings took a total of 2 hours and 12 minutes, so I know what I need to focus on moving forward. The day has finally come. I am gonna learn how to draw hands, at last. As y'all can see, before today, I didn't know how to draw hands, so my solution was to not give my characters any fingers. Or if I did attempt to draw them, they turn out like demon claws. Or some of the hands just have more than 5 fingers. Oh wow, look at this, I'm already pro. You're not supposed to see that. Anyways, just tracing my hand is not gonna work, because how am I gonna trace a fist? So I gotta learn this the old-fashioned way. I searched up some videos and got to work. One thing I like about drawing hands is, I got a reference right here. Except when I have to do this. Oh god, I can't even hold a pencil. So yeah, I drew a bunch of hands doing a bunch of different signs. And you can probably guess this sign. Oh, you wanna see it? Alright, fine, I'll show you. On day 16, I spent the whole day drawing feet. Yes, normally people wear shoes, so drawing feet is technically not necessary. But since I'm a degenerate, I mean a perfectionist, I believe you shouldn't neglect certain details of the body just because you don't need to draw them. And when feet are usually drawn, it's the main focus. So yeah, I spent the next 2 hours drawing feet. And boy, I found out feet are actually harder to draw than hands. Today, I gained a new level of respect for people that draw feet. Day 17, I choose to draw from references. The first one was probably the hardest challenge I've done so far. I chose a character with a dynamic pose and spent the next 2 hours trying to make it recognizable. The catch here is, I'm gonna replace her shoes with feet. It just feels like my art took a step back. The hair looks like grass, I made the legs too short, and the face doesn't look right. Overall, my character looks weird compared to the original. However, I wasn't gonna let it stop me, so I spent another 2 hours drawing something I haven't done before. A character sitting down. After drawing the head and the torso, I realized I didn't exactly know where the legs are supposed to go. So I spent a majority of the time clueless and just kinda winging it. But the hardest part for me was the freaking hands. I kept erasing her hands cause it was just not coming out right. Oh yeah, I also replaced the shoes with feet in this drawing as well. So I did everything else first before coming back and drew this weird looking hand. Today was just not my day. And I was obviously trying to do too much and it backfired badly. Out of everything I've learned in the 18 days so far, I feel like I am struggling the most with drawing a head, especially in a 3/4 angle. So on day 18, I just drew a bunch of heads that way. A lot of them were just me following along with videos, and the ones I didn't use a video, I circled them. And you can see how that went. I'm starting to regret skipping most of the basics drawing fundamentals. And it's really frustrating because I don't know how to improve. I did play with a 3D model of a head to try and understand why, but I still couldn't figure it out. On day 19, I went straight back to head drawing hell. And as I was feeling more demotivated than ever, something cheered me up. I was browsing Reddit and found this abomination. It gave me the idea to draw that too, and I created this masterpiece. Basically a 3-in-1 where I get to practice the head, hands, and feet at the same time. Then for the next 2.5 hours, I decided to revisit this reference which I drew on day 10, hoping to use the things I've learned in the past week and pour my heart and soul into this drawing. Today, I realized something very important about art that affected me throughout the rest of my journey. Whenever you draw and have negative thoughts, the drawings you create will reflect that mood. I mean, look at these drawings here. I remember just being in a negative mindset while I was drawing these. Like, sometimes when things don't go right, I'll have the urge to just drop my pen and stop for the day. Or just draw a giant X on top of it. And because of that, the finished product looks bad. It basically reflects my mood. But the art I created today was probably my proudest one yet. When I was drawing, I was feeling it. And compared to the one I drew on day 10, I can definitely say I improved. As we head towards the home stretch, I want to learn one more technique to make our final art stand out, which is coloring. I bought some color pencils, but before I can put color on my characters, I gotta learn shading first. I look over the art I drew yesterday and quickly noticed the bottom half is way too small. So as I drew another character, I kept that heavily in mind. I think the proportions came out nicely, but there's just something off with the face. Same thing happened with the drawing yesterday. I think I need to make my face bigger. Anyways, I tried shading my character, which was a lot harder than I thought. Yeah, I don't think I should have shaded her legs like that. On day 21, I drew Iroha to practice faces. I think her face came out pretty good. This is my first time drawing the tongue, and it's pretty easy actually. To give my drawing more life, I practiced shading again. One thing I noticed is a lot of anime characters usually have brushes, and I really want to draw some. But I don't know how, so I kinda just scribble some lines on her cheek. Good enough, right? I started playing around with coloring on day 22. I don't know if it's my paper or the color pencils' quality, but they leave a little bit of white spots no matter how many times I color over them. Blending and coloring actually required way more effort and patience than I originally thought. And if you make a mistake, there's no going back. Here's the difference between just coloring and using blending techniques. The difference is night and day. Oh, and I also practiced drawing another character to stay consistent. And since everything took about 3 hours, I'll save my attempt at coloring her for another day. On day 23, I went ahead and colored what I drew yesterday, and I can safely say it did not come out the way I wanted it to. First of all, I tried applying shadows on the hands and the neck area, but made a mistake of choosing a color that's way darker, so it totally messed up the hands. The neck here turned out more like a color than a shadow. I also tried using this trick where you use a paper towel to blend the skin color, but it blended with my pencil lead instead, so I quickly abandoned that idea before I messed it up even more. Overall, coloring gives my drawing more depth, but this is one of the times I wish I was on digital, because I'm so bad at choosing the right colors to color my characters with, and any mistakes you make are permanent. This neck color here is really bothering me the more I look at it. Day 24, I decided to draw Mao Mao. I specifically chose her because I really like her color scheme, so hopefully when I get to coloring, I will try harder this time. I also got this brush pen a few days ago that I wanted to try out, and as I was tracing over the lead, my hands were extra shaky because I know one mistake will ruin my art. After putting on color, I don't think it looks half bad. My face could still use a little work though. Alright, we officially have 5 days left and things are not gonna get easier. And what's a better way to draw than to make yourself suffer by drawing this extremely challenging piece of work? I was browsing for inspiration and really wanted to draw a character wearing a hat, so I chose this character. But drawing this was a struggle. I literally drew her face and body already, but erased everything because it feels like I'm drawing way too small. But after about an hour of messy lines and eraser marks, my drawing came out better than I expected. I'm not gonna color this one though. On day 26, I challenged myself to draw an original character. I wanted to practice drawing side profiles too, but I absolutely struggled with it. Because thinking about it now, I didn't have enough practice and experience, especially with the hair. I did look up some example of expressions and head tilting, but everything else, including the coloring, is what I cooked up basically. And I'm super proud of it. While I was drawing, I picture her having this reserved, quiet type personality. Kinda emotionless type, you know. Overall, I think I captured that perfectly. I'm gonna name her Subjohn. On day 27, I did something pretty ridiculous. I decided I was gonna draw a full body character, ink it, and color it. All of it in a day. The process actually started pretty smoothly. I did a rough sketch that took around an hour and a half. Adding more details and tracing with ink took an hour, and coloring the art took another hour. I actually ran out of space, so I couldn't draw Ai's feet. One thing that gave me the most trouble was her hair. I really can't draw small and detailed, so I couldn't add strands of small hair that fit inside her head. But overall, I really like how this came out, and I finished it way faster than I initially anticipated. For the last few days, I dedicated myself to long hours to prepare for a final test. I'm talking about 5-hour days. It feels like I'm in this zone and nothing could stop me from drawing. On day 28, I drew, inked, and colored this. Have you ever had this feeling when you solved a difficult puzzle and just have something click for you? I feel like the art I drew today was the closest for me to feeling that way. Day 29, I initially tried to keep my day simple. Limit myself to 2 hours of drawing and that's it. Well, as I was browsing for references to draw, my curiosity got the better of me. In my mind I was thinking, how hard would it be to draw an instrument? Well then, this looks like shit. While I was struggling with instruments, I ran out of time, so I did some quick shading and call it a day. Hopefully after a good night's sleep, I'll be prime and ready for the big day. Alright, it's the final day and we got a long day ahead of us. As I mentioned on day 1, I'm gonna draw my favorite character again to see how much I improved. Not gonna lie, I was very nervous while drawing this. I had spent over 91 hours over the course of 30 days for this exact moment. And here is the result. Wow, I can't believe I actually drew this. The whole process from start to finish took around 7 hours. Comparing this to the first art I drew that took 30 minutes on day 1, it feels amazing to see the experience I've gained and the skills I applied. Had you told me on day 2 after producing Listing that I will be creating my own original character to drawing these, I wouldn't have believed they were drawn by the same hands. My mindset completely changed on day 5. I needed to replace lead on my mechanical pencil, and I was impatient and broke it. I think Andy's sacrifice was what set the wheels in motion. I was averaging 30 minutes to an hour drawing a bunch of fragmented faces to spending 3 to 4 hours focusing on one thing at a time. That helped me understand patience is the key to learning and improving art, not talent.